It is time, it is time, it is time, it is time, it is time. It is time for another extreme grocery budget challenge. Extreme, super extreme, maybe not really. We're dealing with inflation these days, so I did a meal plan for 7 days for our family of 4 or 5. There's 5 of us, but the baby doesn't really eat much, for $50 at Walmart, and I did this in March 2022. So we know that the prices have gone up since the last time I did an extreme grocery budget challenge, and I'm excited to share it with you because I was still able to eat on $50 for the week for the family and really well. Great stuff, really yummy food. So I'm excited to share this with you. I hope it gives you some inspiration for your family, all the amazing things that we ate and what you can eat too, and how we can stretch foods that are inexpensive to make things that really are yummy in our tummy. As always, if you're really dealing with food insecurity, you don't have the $50, and you don't have food at all, or you need help, please reach out to your local food pantry or church. There are people that are willing to help you. They are there for you. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody deserves a good meal. Everyone deserves to be fed. And I always also recommend that if you are not someone hurting for food and you have a few extra dollars in your budget, make sure to buy a couple extra canned goods or items that your local food pantry is looking for when you go to the grocery store, and just make sure to donate those so that you can help those in need. I'm gonna start off by showing you what we got at the grocery store, and then I'll show you all the meals we made.
Okay, so here's almost everything that I got with my $50. I do have a bag of dried pinto beans coming in the mail because I had ordered them for pickup, and for some reason it was like, oh, we can ship these, but it wasn't going to cost extra. So sure, ship them. They'll be here in 2 days. So they should be here tonight, which is fine because I don't plan on using those till later in the week. I got 4 apples, and those were a little under $2, I think. And mostly I got those because, I mean, a little bit of variety, but I also want to make some apple cinnamon muffins. So you'll see what I got to make that with in a few minutes. And then I got 2 onions. We're gonna use those in a couple of meals. We're gonna do like a chicken pot pie and a chicken and dumplings, and we'll use those in that. And I'll probably try and see if I can spread them a little thinner too. And then I got 5 pounds of potatoes. Those are mostly gonna be like for breakfast. I might use them as a side at some point, but I was thinking about making breakfast bowls and just like cooking up all the potatoes in the oven, like dicing them and then baking them, and that will like really give us like a filling breakfast. And then I have bananas. I did actually have 2 more bananas in this too that the kids already got to them. So bananas will be like the main source of fruit for the family. And you can see there's not that many for 7 days, but you know what you do, you can when you have a small budget, and that's why I kind of will make these apples stretch by making apple cinnamon muffins. And then I got a whole container of wheat bread, and those are 88 cents. So that will be for toast in the morning, as well as I'm gonna make some French toast sticks. You can see I got some butter flavored syrup. You know, that was kind of like an extra buy. I'm not really sure how necessary that is. It depends on whether you have to have syrup with your French toast sticks, or if you already have some on hand, or if you can just make it like with some sugar. I priced it out to buy sugar and make it versus buy this, and it was actually cheaper to buy the container of it. I didn't realize it was butter flavored, but well. Oh, I got the poor baby. He isn't feeling good. He has a cough, and you can hear me. I'm like all congested as well. So we both have a cold, and I'm wearing him right now, which is why I'm not touching anything because I can't reach. Hi, because I'm wearing him. He needs to be near mom right now. And then I have mixed vegetables, and that will be good for our chicken dumplings, good for our chicken pot pie, and I'll probably potentially use that as a side for something else too. I got some sharp cheddar cheese because we're gonna do tacos one night, and we're also gonna do chicken burrito bowls, so we'll need the cheddar cheese for that. And if we want to do maybe like grilled cheese here and there might be enough cheese for that too. And that I think is like $1.80 something. I'll see what I can do to get more prices on these, because I did, it went up. I know it was $50, but I don't have the receipt right in front of me. And then I got this long grain rice. I think that's like 70 something cents, and that will be good for our burrito bowls. And I think we're gonna have extra because I think that's all I'm really using that for. So I do plan on making like a pinto bean soup at some point. So maybe that, and then I might have like a chicken and rice casserole now that I think about it. And then 2 cans of cream of chicken soup. Those are one of them's for the chicken pot pie and one of them is for the chicken and dumplings. And then diced tomatoes, those for the pinto bean soup. And then in the back here, I do have black beans and whole kernel corn. And the black beans and corn will both be used for the burrito bowls. And that reminds me, I do have a small container of sour cream, and that will be good for the burrito bowls, the tacos, and potentially the pinto bean soup. And then a container of salsa, and that's probably way more than we need, so hopefully we can kind of utilize that. We can actually put that on eggs for breakfast, which will be good. I got the big thing here that I decided to use and utilize to like kind of make the dinners, and I'm going to make like 3 things out of it, if not more, is this baking mix. So this is basically like a biscuit, and I'm going to end up making the chicken pot pie, the chicken and dumplings, and then also those muffins using the baking mix. And then I have crunchy Ortega tacos. Now, the Walmart Great Value does have a cheaper brand. They're like 88 cents, but they were all out, so I had to spend a little over $1 on those, which is a little bit more than I would have liked. A gallon of milk for drinking, for using with the baking mix. And actually, I think I might try and make some biscuits to go with our soup as well, so we'll see how that goes. And then all depends on how far I can spread the all-purpose mix, so I'm going to actually portion that out like first before I do anything and see exactly what I can do with it. Then I ordered 10 pounds of chicken leg quarters, and they substituted, you can see they have substituted for 10 pounds of drumsticks. So that's the chicken we're going to use this week. So what I'm going to do is try my best. Oh, we're going to do a chicken rice soup too. That makes sense. That's why I have the rice. I'm going to cook up, I'm going to try and cook up the chicken kind of ahead of time, shred it, try and get as much meat off those bones as possible, then make a broth so that I can have soup. Sorry about my little boy who's whining here. He wants to talk, and I get it, I get it. And so I've got ground turkey. That's the festive. This was over $2 now. I think it was like $2.20. It used to be like $1.68, so that's definitely a change. And then some scallions. That'll go in our burrito bowls and maybe breakfast as well. Yeah. And then the big change for me and what really brought the price up was these eggs. So I brought 60 eggs, and this box used to be $5 and it's $8 now, so that's a whole $3 increase. So that brought the price up by $3 automatically. So if I think about the last time I did this and it was like $34, that automatically puts us at $37, assuming that. And I don't know, maybe I didn't do as good of a job, I'm not sure, like trying to get to like a lower price. I just wanted to get something that was comfortable for us. Oh, I forgot to mention, so I got the clove of garlic. That makes sense, just for seasonings. That's so cheap that it's like, it's like 30 cents. I can't not buy it. And then I got a sweet potato, and that's like 60 cents, and that's for Ben because he started eating now. So he can actually eat sweet potato and black beans, make little black bean cakes. He can have rice. So he can have like a variety of things here, which is no problem at all. So he's not going to be for want or anything like that. And he mostly just eats milk these days, but just to try things. And yeah, so we're gonna have I think a pretty robust week of meals, and then and then we'll do snacks of hard-boiled eggs. We have so many eggs, and bananas, and apple cinnamon muffins. I'm assuming you have cinnamon, and yeah, so it's gonna be a robust week of meals. We're gonna have leftovers for lunch most days. I think that should do it. So let's make some food.
Wow, thanks for your patience with my sick voice. Back to normalcy. I'm going to start off by making some hard-boiled eggs. As I said, those are going to be the perfect snack for us, and they're actually good for the kids, good for Ben. And I'd like to use my steamer from Hamilton Beach. I just put them in there once it heats up for 14 minutes and put them in an ice bath, and I think they turn out perfect. And actually, my first example of, like a potential lunch here is an egg salad. Now, you can use eggs and oil, and I will put a recipe down below to make your own mayonnaise if you'd like. But you can also, if you have mayonnaise, I happen to have mayonnaise, so I was just utilizing what I had. Put a little scallions, salt, and pepper, and you have an amazing egg salad sandwich for lunch. And as promised, I decided to portion out my baking mix. I absolutely loved using this baking mix as kind of the central, between that and the chicken, as like the central portions of our meal plan this week. It really gave us some diversity, and it was just nice to try some of the Bisquick recipes, even though it wasn't like Bisquick exactly. It worked out just fine. It tastes the same. And I think you can probably make your own baking mix at home. You could do your own variety of that. It was just nice because on top of it being an extreme challenge, you put in a lot of work when you do a challenge like this. It's a lot of home cooking and there's a lot of effort involved. And using the baking mix actually cut down the effort on my part a little bit and took off some of the pressure and made some low ingredient meals. So I was just happy to have that. So you can see I'm just labeling everything and portioning it out to make sure that I have enough. So my main things that I wanted to make were a chicken pot pie and a chicken and dumplings. And I definitely wanted to make muffins and biscuits. Now you'll see in a few minutes here, I completely forgot about the muffins, and I labeled the last of it pancakes, which is like, I don't know why I was not thinking about the muffins at that time. So I thought, oh, we'll have pancakes too. No, we did not have enough for pancakes, unfortunately. If you bought a larger box, I'm sure you could do that too. I just did the pot pie, the dumplings, and the biscuits. The biscuits were great on the side with the soups and the muffins. And I definitely recommend portioning things out at the beginning of a week. If you have only so much of something, you really want to make sure that you're going to have what you need for what you make, and you're not going to make something kind of frivolous at the beginning, and then you're going to run out for something kind of really important that was a major meal that you had planned. So I'm also getting started by prepping breakfast. So I have my hard-boiled eggs, or some of them, prepped already, and then I want to make sure we have breakfast for the week. So I am making a apple cinnamon muffin with the Bisquick mix. Now, I feel like I was missing some items when it came to what I would need for these, but that's okay. I just went with it and I tried to kind of make up my own thing and make it work. So for these, you just want to peel and slice one apple, so that leaves 3 apples as snacks or with your breakfast or whatnot through the week, which is fine. I find that if I cut up an apple for my kids, they will share one, and that's the perfect amount for them. You want to mix your diced up apples with 2.5 cups of Bisquick mix or baking mix. Now, in my case, I added 2 cups to start, and in the end, I actually did end up adding another 1/2 cup. To that, I added 2/3 a cup of milk. And then the recipe called for sugar, and that was one thing that I definitely did not have to add to these. So I just added in about a couple tablespoons of the maple syrup and 1 egg, and mix everything really well. Now, there were some other recipes, and those recipes called for applesauce, which I definitely didn't have. And then I was thinking, like, if you don't have, in this case, I'm going to add some cinnamon here. If you don't have cinnamon, you could either not add the cinnamon, or you could just go a different route. There is plenty of mix to make pancakes instead, or you could make biscuits and just have biscuits for breakfast. It's whatever you want. That's the great thing about this mix and having this in this meal plan, is that it's up to you what you want to do with this breakfast/snack item. You can make 3 different choices of things, and all of them will be absolutely fine. You want to divide your mix between 12 baking cups if you're going to make full-size muffins, or you could do mini muffins. That's also an option. Now you want to bake these in a 400-degree oven for 15 to 17 minutes. Now while these are baking, I got my French toast sticks started. You want to start with a 1/4 cup of milk, and to that add 4 eggs. If you have it, add a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. But if you don't have that, it's not a big deal. It's not a deal breaker when it comes to French toast. Eggs and milk with bread is just enough if that's what you have. The recipe I used also added a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla and 2 teaspoons of sugar, which I did not have. So I added the vanilla because I had that in my pantry, and then I used the maple syrup as an addition instead of the sugar, and I tell you, it tasted delicious. So that is totally fine if you just want to use the maple syrup and the eggs and the milk. That will do this for you, and you still have a delicious French toast. So I'm just taking a few slices of my bread and slicing them into quarters. You can totally just do regular French toast pieces. That's fine too. I just find that sometimes making things into different shapes makes my kids more interested in eating it, and also made it kind of more like a fun snack if you wanted to grab one or two instead of using an entire piece of French toast. And then on this particular morning, I was like, I'm going to have full French toast for myself for breakfast. So I did cook up the entire French toast. You just want to take your bread and put it into your mixture and then cook it on the stove until it's cooked fully through over a medium-high heat, and you have amazing French toast. I also do just want to mention, I know I used butter earlier. You can use a cooking spray, you can use oil, you can use whatever you have, or you don't even have to grease your pan. If you have a nice pan, just go ahead and put that in and it will cook right up. You could also use the oven to cook this. That is an option, and that's a great way to avoid using that oil. Here are my muffins when they come out. You totally don't have to use the fancy muffin things that I have. I will post those in the description box below under affiliate links, so if you want to get some, because they're pretty cheap on Amazon and they make everything you cook fancy. And here are all of my French toast sticks as well. I just stored these in the refrigerator along with the muffins. I find that they last longer. I don't want things to mold. And then when we eat them in the morning, we just put them in the toaster oven to heat up. And so here, this is how we were serving the French toast sticks and the muffin as a breakfast. And then next up, I'm going to get started on cooking all of my potatoes that I'm going to use as breakfast potatoes. And I did want to set one potato to the side because I'm going to use that in a pinto bean soup later. So, you know, you got to set aside a little time, because look at that. It took me a while to peel all those potatoes and then slice them up into little pieces. And then we're going to roast those in the oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes until they're fully cooked through. I'm just putting a little bit of oil, salt, pepper, anything that you like on them. Salt and oil is plenty, but if you have another flavor, go ahead and have it. So here, that first night, actually, I was like, let's do breakfast for dinner, because I had all of my potatoes cooked, and I just figured we'd start by getting started there. We had some toast, we had eggs with scallions, we have muffins and potatoes, and we had plenty of potatoes left over for breakfast through the week. So yeah, here's our first dinner, and this is me making up some breakfast bowls for breakfast the next day. These are great because my husband can kind of grab and go, and even I need to grab and go in the morning because I'm getting the kids off to school, and if I don't have something ready to go, I will just not eat, and I get hungry. Next up, we're going to cook 5 of the 10 pounds of drumsticks. You need a half a cup of water in the bottom of an Instant Pot. And then you want to put the 5 pounds of drumsticks in there, and you want to set the timer for 15 minutes on manual pressure, and then slow release for another 10 minutes. And you should have fall off the bone, delicious chicken. I was so impressed with how this worked out. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, and now I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of drumsticks and the fact that on the bottom there I actually got bone broth, and it was so good. So I actually took all the chicken off of this, and we ended up with quite a bit of just shredded chicken ready to go for the week, and I still had another 5 pounds to cook. I understand not everyone has an Instant Pot, so if you need to bake that chicken in the oven, that is totally fine too. For the second meal of the week, I am making a chicken and dumplings from Betty Crocker using the baking mix. You need 1 cup of mixed frozen vegetables, 1.5 cups of milk, and 1 can of condensed cream of chicken soup. Add in 1 cup of the shredded chicken and heat to a boil over high heat, then reduce down to a simmer. While that's simmering, take 1 cup of baking mix and 1/3 a cup of milk and mix that together, and you're going to kind of get this like lumpy mixture, and those are going to be your dumplings. And at that point, you want to add the dumplings to the soup. You want to add about 8 of them, so kind of divide it up into 8. I think I ended up adding more because at first I kind of grabbed small ones. I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. You want to simmer this at low heat for 10 minutes and then cover it and cook it for another 8 to 12 minutes until your dumplings are fully cooked through. At the end, you can sprinkle a little bit of paprika over the top for color and flavoring, and this ended up being absolutely delicious. The only thing I would say is I was kind of expecting leftovers, but when this recipe says it's for 4 people, it absolutely is for 4 people. There were no leftovers, so you might want to double it next time. Luckily, we had other things that we could eat, such as the egg salad sandwiches, extra chicken. My husband actually grabbed like an entire bowl of chicken and just ate that, which I was surprised by. But luckily, we had lots of chicken, and I actually had one of these like I used to call it egg and bread growing up. Some people I think call it like one-eyed bandit, eggs in a nest, eggs in a hole. Comment below like what you call this, but hey, this is like a great snack, a great lunch, great breakfast, whatever you want. It's a fun thing that reminds me of childhood, and it still tastes delicious. Tommy.
I really like it.
Tommy, come here. Can you tell me what you think? What you give the chicken and dumplings?
I give the chicken and dumplings a 4. I give it a 5. I mean, they're at 100.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like
Don't
better?
listen to
Chicken.
Don't listen to him. It's actually just a 5. Yeah, it's basically a 100. Don't listen to Tommy.
What do you think? Do you think
No,
chicken
don't
and
listen
dumplings?
to him.
What?
Don't listen
Wait, what do you
to
think?
Tommy.
Chicken and dumplings or tacos?
Chicken or dumplings or tacos? Dumplings. No, I do want to do one more thing.
Now we got to work on them talking with their mouths full, but that was a huge win. So here is all the chicken that I pulled off of all of those. And it doesn't look like a ton here, but the great news is that the meals that I picked really don't need chicken as like a ton of robust amount of chicken. You just need some chicken. So it's the perfect way to use chicken in your meal without it being like the main star or whatever. And here you can see I have like a gravy separator, which really helps with this, but I'm pouring out everything from the Instant Pot, and this is what's left in the bottom after setting aside those bones and everything. And this actually is going to separate the fat out on the top of this, and then I can pour it into a container and keep the bottom part, which is not fat, and that is what the bone broth is. So for the next leg of this journey, I'm going to cook up all of the rice according to the instructions on the back of the package, and we're going to use this rice for some burrito bowls as well as for our chicken and rice soup. For my burrito bowls, I'm using a can of black beans drained, and then I'm adding some onion powder, garlic powder, salt, any other seasoning that you kind of like to add. Go ahead and do that. You could even chop up an onion if you had one into that. I'm using that's a chili lime. I like to season the plain black beans. It really kicks it up a notch and makes it taste delicious when it comes to your burrito bowl. And then I'm using a bunch of chicken here, and I'm just seasoning this up. That is a taco seasoning from the Dollar Tree that I happen to have around. Now, I'll put a recipe for a taco seasoning down below if you want to make one yourself, or you can just add salt and pepper. It's going to be fine that way too, because you're going to have salsa and you're going to have sour cream and cheese and lots of other flavors that make everything taste delicious. So if you don't have seasoning, that is okay. You saw on the back there, I also cooked up the corn on the stove, and I also shredded half of my stick of cheese. Now, this is a lot of cheese, but we're going to have lunches tomorrow too. So here is one of the burrito bowls. You can see it's very hearty. These were so good. This is one of my family's favorite meals these days. The kids love it. We love it. And we also feel like we're being like relatively healthy when we have it. So that was dinner for night 3 as well as lunch the next day. Now, I'm going to show this to you in the order I should have done things. Truthfully, I made the chicken and rice soup later in the week when I made chicken for chicken pot pie. I should have just made all the chicken on the same day, just in 2 batches, and made the chicken and rice soup, because I didn't realize how much chicken and rice soup this was going to make, and this would have been perfect for lunches. So my recommendation is do all the chicken in one day and make your soup, and then you can eat the soup for lunches. So for this chicken and rice soup, you're going to need one of your onions. I know earlier in this I said that I was going to use the onions for the pot pie and the dumplings, which is totally not true. That neither of those things call for an onion, so I don't know what I was thinking. The onion is actually for both of my soups, the pinto bean soup and the chicken and rice soup. For your soup, just start by putting a fat, some sort of oil, butter, whatever you have, in the bottom of your soup pot and heat that up. Then you're going to want to add in your entire diced onion. I'm going to cook that onion for about 5 minutes until it's soft, and then I'm going to add in the bone broth from both my batches of drumsticks. Now, one of them I had put in the freezer because I had done it earlier in the week and I didn't know how long it was going to take me and I didn't want it to go bad. You can see how good that bone broth is. That is exactly how a really gelatinized bone broth looks. And so I have the frozen one and I have the regular one. I don't care. I'm throwing it all in there. And we are going to I had separated out my vegetables so that the rest of these veggies are going into my chicken pot pie tomorrow night. And these ones, this is like 2-3 cups of veggies. Just pour them all in there because this is what we're going to use them for. Now, an alternative method for using your chicken and your vegetables and your onion is to kind of make like a chicken and rice casserole. You could totally do that too. I do think you get like a lot more out of making a soup out of it. Because I had such gelatinous thick bone broth, I did want to add some extra water to this, or you could use like a chicken bouillon, or if you had cooked down your bones, I'll put a recipe for like a chicken broth down in the description box for you. You can take those bones if you don't want to use the bone broth and just make a quick broth. And you can use it that way too, and then use the broth in the soup. This soup is going to call for a bunch of parsley and some thyme and some salt, and feel it out, do what feels right. I will put a recipe down below that I kind of loosely base this off, but we're looking at about a tablespoon of dried parsley and about a teaspoon of dried thyme, and then salt to taste. Now mine took a lot longer because I did have some frozen bone broth in here, but you want to bring it up to a boil and let it simmer for about 10 minutes just to get the flavors going in there. And then you can add in your rice and your chicken and get that going for another 10 minutes just again to meld those flavors. Now, I also had frozen my rice because I had done this later. Again, I didn't know how much time. So yeah, you see frozen rice, frozen bone broth. This is a good reason not to be afraid of the freezer, because you don't want to let something go bad. You can just put it in the freezer and then just use it even just a few days later just to make something that you said, maybe I don't have time to make it this certain day, but I can make it in a little bit and then it won't go bad. This soup, as with all soups, is just super relaxed on the portion sizes. So what I did was I put that bone broth in that I had, and then I actually added more water, and then I separated the amount of chicken that I needed for the chicken pot pie and put all of the rest of the chicken in there, and I had put all of the rest of the rice in there. So whatever you have, this is basically a leftover soup, and that's maybe why I thought, I should wait, but put everything in there, taste it, add seasonings that you like, and that's pretty much it. See this huge, huge bowl? Like we had it for dinner, and then this is how much we had left. And this is why I ended up having this, longer than our 7-day period, because I had so much soup that I could use for lunches. At this time, I was also making biscuits because the biscuits went great with the soup. So I have my separated out baking mix, and I'm just pouring that into a bowl, and then I'm going to add 3/4 a cup of milk and mix that really well. Now you can either do like drop biscuits or you can make them into perfect little rounds. So I just formed my dough into a ball and rolled that out, and then I actually folded that in half, and you want it to be about a 1/4 inch thick, and then you can take like any cup that you have. I used a kid's cup and just stamp circles on there. And the reason that I rolled it in half and then rolled it again is that you can kind of pull them apart. So if you wanted to even make like a breakfast sandwich out of it, you could. Totally not necessary. It's not even necessary to make circles out of them. You can do like what I'm saying, like drop biscuits, where you just take some of the dough and just make little circles out of it, and those would have tasted delicious either way. So your choice on how you want to do it. You can see Julian was getting in there with me. He loves to help in the kitchen. You want to place those biscuits on an ungreased cookie sheet and bake for 8 to 10 minutes at 450 degrees. And you can see they come out golden brown and delicious. My kids absolutely love these biscuits. So these could even be a snack, but it tasted absolutely delicious with the soup. And the soup was so hearty, such a great lunch and dinner. And the thing about these extreme challenges is and Mac wanted some, you really need to get down with the soup, because soup stretches, and it's so flavorful. So soup is just a very important part of an extreme grocery budget challenge, to me at least. The next meal I'm making is another soup. That's why I'm going on about soup. This is a pinto bean soup, and I've had this on my list to make forever, and this is the perfect time to do it. And I was so incredibly pleased with how it turned out. I did need to cook my pinto beans first, so I chose an Instant Pot method. This recipe has a lot of things that I didn't have in it, but I was just trying to add what I did have to give the pinto beans some flavor. So I'm starting with 4 cloves of garlic, and I'm just grating those in using my microplane. The recipe also calls for like jalapeno and onion, and I'm not using those things. So I did end up using some onion powder, some chili powder, and some cumin. And then you need 4 cups of water with your drained and washed beans. Now, you do have a choice whether you want to soak those overnight ahead of time. Go for it if you want to. I didn't think ahead, and I rarely do. So that's the thing I love about the Instant Pot, is that you can just pop everything in there and get it done quickly. The total amount of time you want to cook these in your Instant Pot is for 30 minutes if your beans are unsoaked, 15 if they are soaked. And yeah, it comes out with a delicious, flavorful bean. And I was able to use these in a pinto bean soup as well as in my tacos. And using those in the tacos really makes your taco meat, your ground turkey, stretch a lot further. And I'll put a recipe for pinto beans that you can soak and cook on the stove as well, because I know not everyone has an Instant Pot, and that should not deter you. You can absolutely cook beans that are as delicious on the stove. So for this soup, I am using my second onion and just dicing that up. This onion is key to the flavor of this recipe, but if you don't have one, you could definitely use onion powder. Now I'm just putting some olive oil or whatever oil you have in the bottom of a pan, and we are going to cook these onions over medium-high heat, saute them for about 4 to 5 minutes, and make sure to stir frequently. At this point, I'm adding in my can of fire roasted diced tomatoes. Wow, these are delicious. I want to buy these for everything from now on. And then I'm going to add my spices. I do have a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, a little bit of red pepper flakes if you'd like, and I'm also going to add in 3 garlic cloves that I'm going to grate in on my microplane again, as well as 1 medium potato dice. So that's like that last potato that I saved specifically for this recipe. And you just want to stir everything around. If you have carrots too, and I definitely didn't buy carrots in this case, you go ahead and add those in. And then we're going to use 2 cups of broth. Now, if you have broth, I didn't end up making the broth out of the chicken bones. I just didn't have time, so I just put those in the freezer and I'll make it another time. I use chicken bouillon in this case. You can use just water and salt. Use whatever you have. Even with those spices, if you don't have a few, it's okay. You probably do want like a chili powder or something like that, but I understand not having something like smoked paprika. Once this mixture comes to a boil, you want to let it simmer with the lid on for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you're going to add in your pinto beans. So I just used that can of fire roasted tomatoes and added my pinto beans, so I knew exactly how much, because we need 2 cans of pinto beans in this case. Stir those in and then cook for another 10 minutes until all of your veggies are softened. Now you can take all of your half of your soup out and put it in a blender if you'd like, or you could use like a magic bullet or whatever you have to mix this up. I happen to have an immersion blender, which really helped to mash up about half of my soup, and you can see how this thickens your soup up but still leaves some chunky parts. This soup is incredible. Like, I will make it again and again and again. I can't believe it's taken me this long to make it. I enjoyed it so much. We're eating well. We're having plenty of soups for lunch, and for dinner this night, we're gonna use the rest of our pinto beans, our ground turkey, and I totally, again, forgot about taco seasoning. I feel like I did this in my last challenge too. If you have some on hand, you're good. I have a recipe in the description box to make some. If you do not have anything, just add a little bit of salt and it'll be absolutely fine. Cumin if you have it, chili powder. You can pretty much put any flavoring, garlic powder, onion powder. You're going to give it flavor, and then you're going to put sour cream and you're going to put salsa on top, and it's not really a big deal if it's not exactly perfectly taco seasoned. So I'm just cooking up the entire roll of ground turkey, and I'm adding in my pinto beans. You may have other feelings about when you want to add these in, but I wanted to add them in so that I cooked them down and really mashed them up with my meat, so they're kind of like one and the same. So I decided to put them in at the same time as cooking my meat, but if you wanted to cook your meat first and then add them, that's fine too. You can see how well everything mixes together. I'm adding a little bit of water, and I'm actually just going to use this packet of taco seasoning because I had it on hand. Like I said, totally not necessary. I cooked up my taco shells. We have lots of meat. We have the rest of the shredded cheese, the rest of the sour cream, and the salsa, and this meal was delicious. The next day, Julian and I decided we were going to use the 3 tacos left over to have tacos, and we even still had filling left over after that. So there is so much food at this point. You're still rich in soup. You're still rich in taco meat. there is just plenty of food. So this last night, we're having chicken pot pie with the last of our baking mix. You want to put 1 2/3 a cup of thawed frozen mixed vegetables with 1 cup of cooked chicken and 1 can of condensed cream of chicken soup in the bottom of a pie pan that has been greased. And you can actually mix all of this directly in the pie pan, which is fantastic and super easy. And then in another bowl, you want to take a cup of your baking mix, which is what I had set aside, 1/2 a cup of milk and 1 egg, and just mix that up well. And you're going to have kind of like a sloppy, almost like pancake mix. And that goes very well over the top of your pie. And super simple. Bake this at 375 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes and your crust is golden and it's awesome. It's definitely not a traditional chicken pot pie, but it is good. So I did just want to show you, this is all the chicken. It's a little bit congealed because it was in the fridge, but I did make that second batch of 5 pounds of chicken. This is all the chicken that was left after the chicken pot pie, the chicken and dumplings, and the chicken burrito bowls. There was so much, and that's all chicken that I put into that chicken and rice soup, and that's why I ended up having so much. So you could have done a lot of other things with this. If you wanted to have like chicken salad sandwiches, you could have done that. I mean, there was only so much bread, but I felt like that bread was like the never-ending loaf of bread for real. We had more than we needed. So overall, there was so much food. We ended up with lots of extra eggs that we could use as hard-boiled eggs just as a snack. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you eat the same things over and over and it gets old, but that's fine because we're saving money. And if you're going to be on a budget like this, it's nice to eat nicely, eat well, eat things that are healthy for you. And you have to have a little bit of redundancy, but that's okay. That's how we do it. I hope you enjoyed this challenge and got some ideas for your family. If you'd like to see more challenges like this video from me, please give this video a thumbs up and then comment below and let me know what type of challenge you want to see, because I'm totally open to doing different things. Should I do a $10 for one person? Should I do a $60? Should I do a $20? I am in for whatever you guys think is best. I love trying new stuff. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss those ones in the future, as well as all my other amazing cooking videos. I am posting 3 times a week lately, and I'm going to keep it up all for you guys because I love you, and I'll see you all very soon.
I've been waiting